Hey, my name is Anthony Sparrow. Last year I experienced a real horror, just a real nightmare, and it cannot be called otherwise. It's called, I helped a friend and almost got stuck in a mental hospital forever. In general, I will tell you everything in more detail now, and you listen and watch. Do not forget to put likes, write your opinion in the comments, and of course subscribe to the channel. I have a friend named Nick. He's a great guy. We've been friends since we were born. He always supports me in everything and helps me out. One day he went to Europe to practice. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. Nick is a cool dude. He's studying to be a psychologist. He followed in the footsteps of his parents. I will not say that I like his choice, but in principle, psychologists earn quite cool. However, he would have done it his way anyway. Well, me too. Decided to follow by my parents' footsteps. We have our own diner not far from home. My parents told me to continue their business. I didn't mind. It also made us money. In addition, my plans were only to expand the business. Well, you understand, I didn't go anywhere after school, but stayed here to work. So when Nick went to Europe to pick up European girls, just kidding, to study, as he said, I was left here alone. My life gradually filled with routine. Nothing interesting happened. All day I was in a diner and at the same time looking for a place to open a second branch for my business. Every day passed so quickly that I didn't even notice. My parents were proud of me. For my 18th birthday, my mom and dad gave me a grandfather's watch. It was our family value. The watch was silver with an engraving made by my grandmother. She had given them to him on their wedding day. They loved each other very much. I was very touched by this gift because they belonged to my father and now to me. I made a habit of wearing them every day. I got a call from Nick, who warmly congratulated me on my birthday and then told me that he had prepared a surprise for me, which I had long dreamed of. Will you give me $1 billion? I asked jokingly, to which Nick only laughed. Who would give it to me? But you will definitely never forget my gift. He said it was an unusual surprise and I should pick it up at his school. Oh no, I wasn't happy to hear that because Nick's place of study wasn't exciting. He was just doing an internship at our local mental hospital, which is full of weirdos. I was there once and I felt uneasy. I didn't want to go back there anymore. But my friend, that's still infection, prepared a surprise, perfectly knowing about it. I cursed him 100 times, but my curiosity got the better of me. He knew my weak spot. Waiting 6 months for him to bring the gift himself was an awfully long time. So I decided. On my birthday in the evening, we had dinner with my parents. They hugged me and I went to the mental hospital. As soon as I got there, I was greeted like a native. Horror. The guards treated Nick well and knew me, and it was frightening. Once I got to the right floor, I felt in my pocket the chip from Nick's office and went to him. On the way in the corridor, I met one of the patients. The patient, as the doctors called them, looked at me from a distance. He asked me my name, and I told him I was Anthony Sparrow. Are you our new doctor? No, I said. Where's Dr. Nicholas Hardy? Nicholas will be here soon. He's studying, I said, and walked on. I opened my friend's door with the chip and went into the office. The gift should have been there somewhere. A sudden chill of horror ran down my spine as I heard a familiar voice behind me. What are you doing here, then, if you're not a doctor? The guy I just met in the hallway asked me. I whirled around and saw that he was standing very close to me. I was afraid. I wanted to think of something quickly, to say, but he hit me and I lost consciousness. I woke up only after some time. My head was splitting. I did not know where, and for a long time I could not gather myself. The room was bright and I could hear other voices. He broke into the office. Yes, it is not clear at all where he got the chip. Our employee noticed it. Yes, said a female voice. When I opened my eyes, I saw that I had no clothes on. I was lying on the bed in hospital clothes, tied to the handrail. I asked the nurse what was going on. Where were my clothes and why was I tied up? She began to calm me down, told me to keep quiet, promised to give me a sedative. Are you crazy? What the fuck sedative? I'm actually healthy. I'm not your patient. My clothes were stolen. The nurse gave me a deadpan look, then called some dude. Dr. Sparrow, look at the patient, she said. What? What Sparrow? It's me. Then the sick bastard who knocked me out came in, wearing my clothes, even my watch. I began to shout that Anthony Sparrow was me. that this psycho took my things for himself, to which he calmly replied, "This is my watch. My girlfriend gave it to me," he said. "What a girl. My parents gave them to me. Call them. They will confirm everything. This is some kind of mistake. I'm not sick. I'm not a patient. Call Nick. He'll tell you everything," yelled like a madman, but no one listened to me. When the nurse left, that psycho came up to me and said that everyone was yelling like that they were all healthy and had relatives who could confirm it. "You can't prove anything. Now you're here forever in my place, and I'm about to go free," he told me. I couldn't believe it was happening like a bad dream. Well, why did I go there at all? I was so angry that I threatened the psycho to find him later and make him pay me properly. The nurse heard it. She called other doctors. I was called violent. They put a straitjacket on me, picked me up, and led me somewhere right down the corridor. I resisted with all my might. At some point, I even managed to escape and run in the opposite direction, but there was just that psycho with my things, and no, to run further, I remembered the watch that he took, and I hit him like a bowling ball. The two of us fell to the floor with such a crash that the whole hospital seemed to hear. At that moment, I only wanted to wake up, but it was far from a dream. I was picked up by the nurses like a feather, and I kept yelling that my things were taken away from me, that the real patient was a psycho, not me. I was dragged straight down the corridor, and I began to struggle again. I don't know how many minutes it lasted. They put me in front of a door. I've heard of it. It's like a punishment cell, and who knows how much time I'd spend there, probably before I rotted. I remember Nick telling me that some patients were sometimes left there for a few days to calm down, but I didn't need to. How am I going to be alone in the dark? I was thrown into a dark space, fell to the floor, and began to scream again. After a second, I realized that no one could hear me anyway, so I fell silent. "This is the end," I said to myself. At that moment, the lights in the room abruptly switched on. "Happy birthday, brother," said a familiar voice. I turned around, holding my breath, and saw Nick behind me, the idiot standing behind me with a big smile and a camera and a cake in his hands. It even seemed to me that these were my visions, that I had gone mad. Then the door opened, and all the doctors came in, including the crazy guy with my watch. "Surprise!" they all shouted. "What is this? A joke?" I asked, still not believing my eyes. "I told you you'd never forget my gift," said Nick, and came over to me. I don't know how I felt at that moment. I hugged him tightly, laughed wildly, and then smacked him in the stomach slightly. I was glad to see him and hated him at the same time for such a joke. Nick understood, so he laughed stupidly. They made a video and gave it to me, and he also brought a bunch of other gifts from Europe for me and my family. But the most important gift he gave me when I left, it was a place. Yes, he found it in our city for my new business, another diner. Nick had come back from Europe for a week to book a place there. He paid the first 6 months of rent himself, and I was grateful to him. Here is such a draw I had. And did your friends arrange something like that?
Hello, everyone. My name is Steven, and I want to tell you a ridiculous story. I have a best friend named David. We like to play tricks on each other. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's weak, and sometimes we even cross all the borders of humor. It is also not uncommon for us to perform various types of challenges. By the way, we take all this seriously, and you must do the task no matter how, and I will tell you how because of one task. I almost got kicked out of school, and I even spent one night in prison, and now everything is in order. It was David's turn to come up with a task for me. Everything was as usual. While I was waiting, I was already planning my task for him. Well, we met him early in the morning at 10 o'clock on the basketball court in the schoolyard. He was in a happy mood and had a sly look in his eyes. In general, the task was that I just didn't talk for 24 hours. That is, I won't be able to utter a single word or even the slightest sound until the next morning. It seems that this day I was not supposed to have any serious event or conversation. This task seemed to me quite harmless, and I could have easily completed it. And now the countdown has started. At first, everything was easy and simple, but even I didn't have to work too hard. I walked by myself and I was silent, but soon I became bored, and I could not communicate with anyone. I wanted to share my news, and that's when I played football. The ball accidentally hit the car of the director. Honestly, I didn't kick it. We were all called to the office. He was furious. It was terrifying. The director asked everyone who did it. No one confessed, and everyone started making excuses. At one point, he noticed that I was just silent and looked at me suspiciously. I guess I looked more like the responsible one than anyone else. Then he said that I was being suspended from school for a week as a punishment and would have to call my parents to school tomorrow. It was a shame because it wasn't my fault, but I couldn't explain myself. I just had to agree and leave. David's assignment was beginning to strain me. I thought that this would be the end of all the trouble, but this was not the case. Walking home after school, I saw a woman in front of me drop her purse. I ran up and picked it up and was about to take it to the woman when a policeman grabbed my arm. He probably thought I stole it. He started asking where I got this wallet from, but it was so evil I couldn't explain the situation. That made this guy think I was the thief. He pulled me into the car and drove me to the police station. Why did all this nonsense happen on this particular day, as if it was all on purpose? In addition, at that police station, the investigator asked me for a long time where I stole the wallet and what else did I steal. I didn't feel like everyone was blaming me, I just wanted to help. This silence was already weighing on me. Without receiving an answer from me, the investigator put me behind bars for a day until the circumstances were clarified. With me in the room sat two more men. One of them was bald and had tattoos, and the other was dressed in biker clothes. They may have been jailed for hooliganism. They asked me why I was locked up in prison, but I couldn't answer them. This made them look at me angrily, thinking I was ignoring them. They repeated their question again, but in a rougher tone, but there was no response from me. At that moment, they were already moving toward me, their fists clenched. Out of fear, I started to wave them away and jumped into the corner. Then one of them said that I might be dumb, and they calmed down and sat down. I couldn't sleep that night. The atmosphere in the prison was very oppressive, and this silence created discomfort. And the next morning, I couldn't wait for the 24 hours to end. I counted every minute. As soon as it was 10 o'clock, I screamed. That woke up the two men in the cell. They couldn't understand what was happening. A police officer immediately approached. I started to explain that it wasn't me who stole the wallet and why I didn't say anything all this time. Everyone around me started laughing and said it was a stupid thing to do. Fortunately, I was immediately released, advised not to play such games anymore. I was glad to speak again and even seemed to feel more cheerful. As it turned out, this seemingly harmless task is not actually easy. As I walked home, I began to think about my tougher assignment for Dave. Such a stupid situation happened to me. Subscribe and see other interesting stories.